Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call together the Records and Public Safety Committee for Wednesday, June 14th. Item 1 is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please rise. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 is the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Any additions or corrections? Hearing and seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 4A is the approval of the minutes dated May 17th, 2023. Any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Van Sickle, supported by Commissioner Grote. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 5 is public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation. It is for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item which is on today's agenda. The second opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak on any issue. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on anything on this agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes? Please come forward, give your name.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Joel Rutherford. I live in Warren, Michigan. First, I just want to make sure that the Commissioners are aware when I spoke yesterday, myself along with everyone in the communities in Macomb County certainly want improved mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment for inmates that are in a county jail. Not just a county jail, any jail that's, that's within Macomb County. What I'm really looking for, though, and what I wanted to make sure you understand is that if there's a way to improve the wraparound services. This is personal to me. My son will be 45 next
Excuse
month.
me, Joel. I'd hate to interrupt you, but this is for things on the agenda.
Yeah,
You can
and that's-
speak at
that's-
the- You can speak at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
But there's
And this is
nothing
about
in
the opioid money.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's-
Then
that's
go ahead,
exactly
please.
what I'm
I
talking about.
apologize. Go right ahead.
Yes. And what it is just because, like I was saying, my son will be 45 next month. From a teenager, he's had a substance abuse problem. I know that I'm going to give a phone call one day that either he's overdosed or been shot in a drug transaction or something like that. He's been in and out of jail where he did get help. He's also been in prison where he got help there. The problem was every time he left from being incarcerated, there wasn't the support. He lives down south. Transportation is a problem because his license is suspended. So when they would set up these programs, they'd say, okay, we need you there for, say, 3 times, 4 times a week. I'd go down there for weeks at a time, getting back and forth and do these kind of things. But when I wasn't there, he couldn't make it. And I'd get a phone call from probably someone in the Department of Corrections and say he hasn't shown up. I asked them to arrest my son because the thing is, I didn't want him to die. And that's something that's why this is so important to me about saying, yes, by all means, improve what you do in the jail, but make sure the wraparound services are there and they're available to the people that need them. My thing is, let's try to do something that's preventative. Not just when they interact with law enforcement, but let's do something prior to that if you can. I know there's only so much money, and I'm so glad that this is going to happen. I mean, I was looking at the Safe and Healthy Macomb, that the mobile crisis units. I think that's something that can do a great job. But I'd also like to see mental health professionals embedded with law enforcement because we ask too much of law enforcement at times. Police officers can't be everything. So why not provide them some assistance? I see that there's a local resident treatment center. I'm not sure where that's going to be located at. And just like an engagement center, but they talk about walk-ins. People are not going to be, with substance abuse problems, maybe even with mental health problems, are not going to walk into the jail normally for help. Now, if this is going to be located somewhere else, I can see where that can be helpful. But like I said, I'm certainly not against this. I think this is a great opportunity for Macomb County to do a lot. I just hope that the focus is strictly not in one area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak on anything on the agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the public participation. I'm going to go to item 6, which is department recommendations. It's a purchase, Interior Environments, Public Defenders Furniture for build-out, $180,048.14. We have Mr. Tomko here as the public defender. I need a motion to move this to full board and support.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Mai and supported by,
Manzicle.
I think Wallace was first.
One or the other.
supported by Commissioner Van Sickle.
And good afternoon, Commissioners. Thomas Tomko, Public Defender here in Macomb County. What we're looking for is a contract. This contract is in connection with our build-out that's proceeding over at the Clemens Center. You might recall that we have grant funding to complete that build-out. There's also grant funding for this contract. And so what we're looking to do is get approval of the contract. This is for the furnishings, the desks, the chairs, the file cabinets, things of that nature that support the office. So we're asking for approval. The contract is with Interior Environments. That's a contractor who provides the lowest price for municipalities, for governments. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I see no speakers. Please vote.
Missing votes from Commissioners Haw and Wallace. Thank you. Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you, Mr. Tomko.
Very good. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Item B is a contract, Flock Safety Automatic License Plate Detection Hardware and Software for $100,837.25. We have Captain Briney, who will make the presentation. I need a motion to move this to full board and support.
Support Lucido.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Nard. Cap, you're up.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm here today to speak on Flock Safety Auto License Plate Detection Hardware and Software. Flock Safety is an American company that sells automated license plate recognition technology to law enforcement agencies and neighborhoods associations throughout the nation. Flock fixed cameras have been installed in over 1,500 cities in the United States. These cameras capture the images of vehicles and license plates as they enter and exit our community. The cameras read the license plates and send instant alerts to law enforcement officers when the cameras identify plates that match those on lists of cars that are stolen or otherwise in interest of the police. Unlike many systems, Flock cameras also allow searches based on vehicle colors, makes, and models. With this information, law enforcement can pinpoint a vehicle last known location, which narrows down the search radius, increasing the likelihood of apprehension. Flock cameras have not only been utilized to locate stolen vehicles and other crimes, but also missing persons, subjects suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's patients, runaway juveniles, violent crime suspects, wanted persons, homicide suspects, armed robberies, etc. All traffic between Flock clients and services is encrypted in the industry standard for securing communications over the internet. Flock will not share, sell, or access our data unless authorized by us. Flock safety cameras are solar powered and run on their own cellular network, so there's no need to hook them to utilities. Flock cameras start at $2,500 per camera a year. This price includes everything: maintenance, footage, hosting, cellular service, and software updates. With this service, we will have shared access with 77 other cameras in Macomb County, We will have access to 575 throughout Michigan. We'll have access to 23 in Alabama, 86 in Florida, 163 in Georgia, 9 in Illinois, 71 in Indiana, Kentucky 4, Mississippi 5, North Carolina 15, Ohio 206, Tennessee 20, Texas 36. With this surface nationwide, we'll have over 1,200, and we'll have access to 1,213 cameras. If we need to try to find somebody that just committed homicide, we can tell from state to state where they've been by their plate or vehicle type. The numbers of cameras are increasing every day. We get notifications requesting access to ours, and they give us access to their cameras also. So that number is increasing every day. Basically, in conclusion, I'm asking the board to approve the contract with Flock Group to provide 25 cameras, software and hardware for automatic license plate detection from year one, which is this year, July 25, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, for a total of $29,658. This funding will be available or is available in our general equipment maintenance fund. The number is 101-305-01. Our object code is 93101. For year two, January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2025, or 2024, $71,179.25. And that funding will be included for the fiscal year 2024.
Somebody did their homework. We have a list of commissioners here that have some questions. I'll start with Commissioner Zinner, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Captain Brenny. I spoke with Captain Brenny a little while before the meeting because I had concerns about this. I will have citizens speaking to me about this because they're so concerned about invasion of their privacy. And I felt much better after I spoke with he and the other sheriff deputy. The fact that it's controlled in your genre, it's not controlled by others, and now there's that all of these are to their own area. They're not. It's not connected with other kinds of cameras. Makes me feel much more comfortable. There were other specifics about it that you just have gone through. And so it's a different kind of camera. And I see that it's been very helpful for the situations that you have mentioned already. Children, dementia, people driving cars that they shouldn't even be driving probably anyway, but they get lost. So I'm more comfortable with it. And I forgot what I was going to say then the next time. Anyway, so I'm going to promote this. And I also asked him if the legislature or if anybody became involved in this and changed it, would he defend it? And he said, yes, he would definitely defend it. He believes in the Constitution, and I feel much better about all that. Thank you very much, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Captain.
Sure.
Where does the feed come in to?
As far as
The camera imaging as it's feeding back?
it goes into Flock, and then it kicks out to us.
Oh, so they handle the data feed then?
Right.
It's not through Contact or anywhere else?
No, but Comtech's notified, our officers are notified that there's been a Flock hit. And then that will let us know there's a stolen vehicle, and our officers get it, and if they're right there where the stolen vehicle is, where that camera is, they're able to apprehend that suspect, so, and it's worked.
And those are live time feeds?
Right.
Great.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Captain.
Sir.
You made the statement that more cameras are being added because you get a request about your cameras. So is that to say that Macomb County already has some of the Flock cameras installed?
They're installing them now. Flock is in Macomb County installing them. There's cameras being installed in Shelby Township, Chesterfield are installed, New Baltimore, Roseville, Sterling Heights, Warren.
You say they're being installed now.
Right, some are installing their cameras because they just authorized them, other ones already have them installed.
Okay, I'm a little confused. The other cameras that are being installed now,
They're not ours, they're not the sheriff's office.
they're like,
But Warren handles their cameras, they purchase them, and they have Flock put them in.
okay.
But it's still in the county, so.
So these cameras would only be installed where the Macomb County Sheriff's Department is responsible for policing.
The 25, correct, in our contracted areas.
Okay,
But we have access to all the other cameras, which is nice.
okay. And to the privacy concern, all the cameras report back to the Flock Corporation complex. How long do they store the data?
That's a good
Do
question.
they store the data and how long?
Is it- what is it? 1 year.
And that's for everybody? That's for us? Okay, and then it's automatically deleted? And can these cameras be used for anything else? You can't turn these into speed traps or anything?
No, it's not for speed.
Okay,
We enter a vehicle and somebody enters information on a vehicle that's attached to that plate, either the vehicle's stolen or the person's suicidal or the person is endangered. Then when that plate drives by that camera takes a snapshot. It sends it to our dispatch and our deputies that this person's endangered, and then we try to locate to help that person out.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Nard?
Hi. I went to New Baltimore to one of their council meetings, and these cameras was explained, and the officer even told how one of the, something had happened, and they were able to detect the person and arrest the person. I like this idea because with the borders being open like it is and people coming in illegally and things like that, are they, say, or if they get a notice of that, are they able to detect license plates and things for something like that and for sex trafficking? This would help with that as well?
It would help for all of that, yes, as long as that plate is tagged for something and we have it on our hot list, it'll pop up as soon as it hits the camera, we can go get that person.
Yeah, when I first heard about this, my nephew is on the Board of Commissioners in LA, and he was telling me about it. I was really excited to see that it was coming here. I called him earlier and told him that they're trying to bring that here because, you know, there's so much danger out there. Just to know that you guys are thinking ahead of time. And I know a lot of people are nervous about people being in your business, but we got to understand that we are riding alongside of people that we don't know if they're supposed to be here, if they're legal. So I'm really happy that law enforcement is looking into everything going forward to keep us safe. So I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Captain. As was mentioned, half of my communities in my district use Flock. They're up, they're installed, they're running, they've been effective. So I am 100% behind this program. I see you've chosen a number of how many to get, so I'm guessing you have locations already picked out, and that's how you ended up with that number?
Correct.
Okay, do you plan on adding more potentially in the future, or is this where we're staying?
It'd be nice to add more, yes.
Okay, thank you, Captain. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Perna?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commander, on the maintenance on these units here, this is a lifetime maintenance, no cost to the county or replacement if needed?
Black handles all the maintenance and everything. Lifetime of the contract.
And the contract is for how long?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
But
That's
we
it.
renew the
Ken
contract.
Bridey, would you speak in that microphone? I'm sorry,
Yep.
please.
Our contract will be for a year and a half, so it's a lifetime of that contract.
Does that seem a little short for a contract of this nature?
I mean, we can always go get it for longer later at a different time, yeah. But for the cost of the camera for a year and a half, you're getting the software services, all the updates and all that maintenance there. That's where the majority of your cost is gonna be.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Song?
Thank you, Chair. What are the locations of the cameras? Where will they be placed?
You want all the locations? I can give them to you if you like.
Yes, you have 25, correct?
Yeah,
Is it
Would you like them all?
good to say? Is,
Is it in,
Give it to us in
is
writing.
Yeah,
is it in our packet here?
well, should he not say it in public?
Yeah, if you can list them off, it's just 25.
Okay. I can let you know, we have one at North River.
Excuse me, Captain, is that supposed to be general information you should be giving out? I'm just asking.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People can know. I mean,
Well, I think people should know that they're being monitored. So I'd like to know these the locations and
Go ahead, Cap.
Actually, in a way, he's not paying attention.
Ken Bryant, go ahead.
northbound North River Road, westbound I-94. Northbound North River Road, eastbound I-94, northbound Gratiot, at Clinton River, northbound Gratiot, north of Clinton River. Sometimes we need to have 2 cameras to cover both directions. Northbound Gratiot, North River, southbound Gratiot, Huron Street, southbound Gratiot, Huron Street. You got them in each side of the road, but westbound Hall Road, east of Fairchild, westbound Hall Road, east of Fairchild. We got 2 opposite sides of the street. Southbound Gratiot, south of Marketplace, westbound Hall, west of Romeo Plank, westbound Hall, west of Romeo Plank, northbound Romeo Plank at M59, southbound Romeo Plank at 21, northbound Romeo Plank at 21, northbound North Avenue at 21, southbound North Avenue at 21, eastbound 21 on North Avenue, westbound 21 on North Avenue, westbound 16 Mile on Union Lake, northbound Union Lake at 16, eastbound 21 Mile on Romeo Plank, westbound 21 Mile Road on Romeo Plank. Those will be the 25 that we have.
thank you so much, Captain.
You're
And
welcome.
these cameras are just to monitor the license plates and the cars. Will they be monitoring any other like street crimes or speeding, other traffic?
No, it's if there's a tag on the plate, if it's tagged by the law enforcement agencies for being wanted, missing, somebody that's in trouble, endangered, suicidal, stolen plate, homicide suspects or whatever, it will then send a notification to us. Anything else, it's not gonna send us a notification. It just takes a snapshot of that plate.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. We already know that we're being monitored many times when we go out to drive. I am not happy that this was just said as a citizen, because if someone's stealing a child, trafficking someone, these areas may be known now to these people. And I wish they wouldn't have been said, because I don't care that they may know. I don't care about those people. I care about the people that may be stuck in a car and they can't get out. But it's already done now. But there are times when we're trying to protect people, and I think that should be more paramount than someone's feelings when they're doing this kind of a specific job. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Nard?
Actually, my question was answered, because what I was going to ask you, because when I was in New Baltimore, I was under the understanding that it's not like people are being monitored. These things are being used when there is a tag and they're saying there's a child missing or someone's missing. So it's not so much that everybody's license plate is just being monitored and they can't do any facial recognition or anything like that. So this is a good thing. I mean, I know a lot of people are worried about being monitored, but please, you guys, I wish that you could instill in the people that they are not being monitored, but the criminals are. A regular citizen that's going about their day don't have to worry about these cameras. Actually, it's for their protection. And I would hope that, I know my aunt used to get out in her car and try to drive, and she had Alzheimer's. And one time she got lost. We didn't have anything like this. And so had we had something like that, you know, we could have found her. My friend's uncle got out and he got lost, and they found him dead because he got in the car, and you know how they get Alzheimer's, they think they can drive, and he really couldn't. And he ran off into something and was found in a ditch. So, I mean, we just need to understand that this is the 21st century, and we're going to be monitored. I mean, it's just the way that it is. If you're doing something good and you're doing the right thing, you don't have to worry about these cameras, because they're there to protect you. And I really appreciate you guys doing that. But please, let the citizens know that they're not being monitored. It's only if they're doing something wrong should they worry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick to Commissioner Song and Commissioner Zinner's point, these cameras are hidden in plain sight. You can see them on the side of the road. They're not hidden up in a traffic light. They're not hidden up in an eagle's nest somewhere. They're literally in the easement from the sidewalk to the street. You could walk down and you can see it. So it's not like it's a gotcha camera or anything like that. These are hidden in plain sight. Anybody can see them. So it's okay to know the locations because people are going to know where they are anyway when they drive by. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a motion and support. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thanks, Cap.
Thank you, everyone.
Item C is a budget amendment, Community Corrections, Michigan Department of Corrections, Office of Community Corrections. There's a grant for $68,000. We have Ms. Caskey, Director of Community Corrections. I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So moved by Nard.
Support Van Sickle.
I have Commissioner Nard made the motion, Commissioner Van Sickle seconded it. Ms. Caskey, you're up.
Good afternoon, Barb Caskey with Community Corrections. We're here requesting approval of a budget adjustment to allow for an additional $68,000 to our Michigan Department of Corrections grant to fund additional assessment services as well as a staff training opportunity where we'll be partnering with Wayne County to provide a 2-day training on the CARI guides, which is an evidence-based cognitive behavioral program focused on those that are at risk of a probation violation and return to jail. In addition to the increase from Department of Corrections, we're requesting to move $73,680 from projected unspent salary and benefits to cover additional cost and contract services. Those funds are a result of moving 3 contractual staff to county employees, and they will be utilized to eliminate wait lists that we've had for some outpatient programs that were created by COVID and are sort of ongoing issues that we're still dealing with. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Oh, here's the phone, but I don't see any speakers. Please vote. We have a motion and support.
I'd like to ask a question.
I don't see you on the, oh, now I see you. Go ahead. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Good afternoon. The motion we have presented in our documentation references the 68,000. I don't see anything about the 73.
Okay, then there was.
And so the motion that, as far as I know, the motion we made is the written motion here. So the motion made wouldn't cover the 73,000. Is that correct? Is it?
Vicky, I called Vicky about it earlier. We were talking about it, so that's why I was.
Oh, okay, I see it now. I didn't see it before.
It's abbreviated in our agenda packet, doesn't show the 73.
Okay, we didn't read the full motion then.
Good. Said full motion anyway. Has your question been answered?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I see no other speakers. We have a motion and support. Please vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner, did your vote pop up?
I didn't get it.
Okay.
I will say yes.
Okay, motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caskey. Item D, Budget Amendment, Community Corrections, Opioid Settlement Funds, $2,481,214. We have Ms. Caskey and we have Ms. Wolber up here to speak. I don't know who's coming up. Vicky? I need a motion to move that to full board, please.
So moved by Nard.
Who's this from?
Support, Song.
We have a motion by Commissioner Nard and we have a support by Commissioner Song. Ms. Wolber, please.
Good afternoon, thank you. Based on conversations with Chair Romano and even our committee, I was asked to present today, at least initially for some simplicity's sake, but our team is here to answer any follow-up questions that you may have. Before you today is we will go through the explanation on the budget amendment itself. Obviously, last month we spent a lot of time talking about our Safe and Healthy Macomb plan. And today we'll go over the budget amendment. So what you have before you is a budget amendment for approximately $2.4 million, which is the amount of money that we have to spend for opioid funding this year. The budget will appear as a separate budget as other grants do within the community corrections area. So right now, it's new funding. You get a budget amendment during the year. It'll fall into the annual budget cycle from here on out, unless, of course, there's other funding that comes in during the year. Just as a reminder, within the county for opioid funding, every local jurisdiction, in addition to the county, received opioid funding except for those communities under 10,000. We are very conscious of partnering with all the communities in the county, but we are very conscious of those communities as well that did not receive any funding, and that we will more than likely have to help take care of some of their service needs within those communities as we move forward over the next 18 years or so. Opioid funding use must have the opioid component. If they have just a mental health issue, if they have some other substance abuse issue and there's no opioid, persons or programs are not eligible. So the opioid piece has to be there. And then the other co-occurring issues can come into play. Like in other areas of the state that our team has worked with, basically everyone is using a collaborative effort for the funding and the planning and programming of this. So we are no different in that. Obviously, the exec's office is represented. We have the sheriff's office, of course, community mental health, our health department, and community corrections right now are the main components of that program. We have already met with all the first responders within the community. We have met with our own courts, prosecutor's office, public defender's office, the district courts, and the hospitals as well. Last month it came up about other meetings. July 10th is our jurisdictional meeting to meet with all the other communities within the county and go over our plans and see how they match up to theirs and where we can partner. And July 25th is the date that is set aside to meet with the other service providers within the county that provide services. Again, planning is ongoing. This is our first attempt at the plan. It's our first round of funding for programs that we can basically start tomorrow. So it will evolve over time and as we meet with other people and the issues ebb and flow. I know when we get into, I'll be more specific, but yes, initially a lot of our funding right now goes towards programs within the jail. There are significant gaps, if you will, in the jail and the programming that we do there. So we spent a lot of time yesterday. The jail is a county responsibility. The programs that are run in the jail are the responsibility of the sheriff and thus the county. So just like we have to provide food, clothing, janitorial services for the inmates in there and also take care of our employees, the same thing goes when you start to look at our treatment services for substance use, opioid, mental health, things of that nature. They fall to the sheriff and the responsibility of his department. Community corrections is housed within the jail. They are charged with programming and services, mainly related to diversion programming and then reentry services into the community. Community mental health is a service provider within the jail. I think there might be some confusion. I know there's a lot going on in the jail. I still learn everything in 23 years, as I'm sure you do. But just trying to point some things that we saw. So community mental health's role, again, is a service provider. They have a piece for jail diversion, but their jail diversion programming is extremely limited within the jail itself. They are limited to providing programming and services for individuals who have serious mental health issues, as well as developmental issues. Further, those people have to have a misdemeanor or a non-violent felony. So their services are not broad-based for everyone that comes into the jail. Those individuals who want to qualify for a community mental health diversion program, they also have to want to voluntarily participate. So if they don't fit into those criteria, they're not eligible for a mental health jail diversion program. Community mental health could participate in other services, and they do, but just like when we look at other funding resources, such as those programs from community mental health, they're limited by the amount of funding, and then also there is certain criteria. So even the programming under Barb Caskey's office, not everyone meets. So there are large gaps within the system where there is no funding available for individuals. I believe according to conversation with Barb and the group today, I think we really only cover 30% of the individuals in the jail with our mental health substance abuse services because of the funding that's limited and the criteria that people have to meet for that funding. So with the programs that we list here today, the opioid funding, I'll bet you have to have that opioid issue. The other criteria is not there. So it helps us to fill some of those gaps that we can't currently do today. Further, for community mental health funds, a large source of their funding is through Medicaid and Medicare. And that funding, at least in our state, it's not in every state, but in Michigan, you cannot use that funding for people who are incarcerated or in the criminal justice system. So that also takes out a large source of their funding that they are able to use with their community programming. Services are not provided 24/7 in the jail. I believe that came up. They're basically provided through the department's normal Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 service hours. Our current spending that is before you today is not tied to the new jail proposal. So again, all the programs that are listed here today, I'll bet some of them require personnel. We could essentially start once approved and start spending that money and start with these programs. I will go into detail, not long detail, on each of the projects that we have. I know there was a question about personnel and what you have listed. So like with any grant, many grants, we chose not to hire new personnel to administer the grant itself. So we've tasked other departments. You could pick many departments to house this in. We've chose community corrections for a variety of reasons. So when you look at salary adjustments that are listed, the $96,191 for Barb Caskey's position, that represents 50% of her time will now be spent on administering the opioid grant and the programs under that grant. She is grant funded now. Small portion is county funding. Obviously, we can't use her current dollars to have her work on the opioid plans. So we're using that portion. For her deputy director, we're using approximately 30% of that person's salary will be dedicated toward the opioid program. We are looking at hiring an admin clerical support of 1 full-time office assistant senior. So that's the amount represented basically by the $103,778,000. Those are essentially all the individuals, current ones that'll be part of the administration of the program. We have consultants. We talked about that. We've already hired a couple because we wanted to get that underway and needed their help. Everyone is busy. So we have $150,000 set aside right now for consultants. We threw in some money for office supplies. And then right now, as well as printing and publications, there's some programs that we've talked about working on, getting information within the jail and also out in the community that we may require that funding for. When you look at programming, we have 4 pretrial specialists that we would like to hire. These would be individuals that would work under community corrections and expand their reach. This would be a second shift. So when we talked about not having 24/7 in the jail, this would now allow a second shift of employees to cover more people. Again, people are in and out of the jail 24/7. They don't come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and leave at 4 o'clock. They come in at all hours of the night. They leave at all hours of the day. So the more that we can try to handle those people, talk to them, be in front of them, start those services, see what their needs are, obviously the better for everybody to get that started as quickly as possible. So that is an expansion of those services there. And that includes, again, different risk and needs assessment, provide bond recommendations to the court, and monitor the programming in the community that any of those individuals may be doing. We're looking at hiring 2 full-time case managers within the jail facility as well. Those case managers more than likely would be community mental health employees, but just like the 2 community mental health employees that work in the jail now, they actually work under the daily supervision of Barb Caskey and her program. So again, they would be looking at outside their normal confines of looking at mental health services, substance use disorders, in response to some of those wraparound services. We've talked about those. This includes that. These individuals, the case managers, they look at the wraparound services. So they're also going to be looking at when they either are part of a diversion program or re-enter into the community, they will be concerned with and looking at providing housing, transportation, what are other treatment services they can get on the community once they leave our care and custody. We have the mobile crisis unit that is being provided for right now in contracted services. That is a community mental health program that is in the community now. Obviously, we want to expand coverage. We want to expand that to 24/7. It is limited right now, but obviously with this funding, that will help move that program forward and provide more of those community services. We have another $150,000, again, which will be based more in contract services, and those are also within the treatment realm. And these are part of the diversion program, and for those individuals who, again, don't fall into that criteria that I referenced earlier. So these are the people that we're missing, that we're not able to provide services for because they don't meet the eligibility, and then we can't take the funding that we do have and provide that to them. So again, these are treatment services, include specialty court participants. It's going to include, again, housing services, employment services, training, medical assistance out within the community. Training, we've talked about training. There's $150,000, I think. It's listed under conferences, so it's a little confusing, but it rolls up into that category within the budget, but that's intended for training. Right now, we are, we want to offer community-wide training as we do, starting with first responders and others. We like to all attend, host, have the same training because everything is cross-jurisdictional. We know that some of this training is going on within those departments. It's currently going on within the Sheriff's Department, but we want to make sure that we have enough funding to be able to do that. Our initial concentration, again, we'll be looking at taking care of our own employees with that training. And just a note too, when sometimes it's come up and depending on how you see it or read it, this is not only paying for the cost of the training itself, but when you start getting into public safety personnel, there are high overtime and backfill costs associated with that this grant and this funding will cover. So unlike normal 9-to-5 jobs, if I go to training, I really don't need someone to replace me at my job for that day. Someone, corrections deputy, law enforcement, fire, they need to be replaced. So someone has to come in for overfill to fill their spot. So that's a portion of that funding as well. So I just want to note that if someone says, wow, that's a lot, or it starts adding up. And I can tell you too, this is one area where we want to start getting into other disciplines as well. And again, when you talk about wraparound services and people that provide those services, they come into contact with individuals every day. And we've had requests from other departments such as the courts, I know with community action, the health department. To be honest, I think we all have a need to have some sort of crisis intervention training, trauma-informed training. So our goal too is eventually, over the years, expand that out to other county employees and again, within the community. So I just wanted to expound on that concept a little bit. We're getting close. Next category right now is $75,000 is set aside to expand the eligibility for the MAT program within the jail. Again, this is providing different medications, if you will, for people who are detoxing and withdrawing. Again, there's a small amount of people that we help right now with that based on the eligibility criteria and funding that is available. As I learned today in talking with Lori, Barb, and Helen and Dave, it's very critical that these medications are received almost immediately with people entering the jail facility who need it, to be able to help them and assist them in their treatment. And right now, again, there's a large gap in being able to provide that treatment to those individuals that need that. Last item, or last two items that we have, the technology solution. We've talked about that in different meetings. Again, that is intended to be a countywide program and intake program where different departments can share basic information. Obviously, there's a lot of protected information that we can't share, but again, this really goes around to that concept of the wraparound services. And what are we missing? What are individuals missing? We all have individual programs that departments use, but we have no program that links them. And what other services have they already been provided? Can I see that they've already been looking for housing assistance and maybe I have a program or I can make a referral for them? And last item for $115,000 is to expand treatment programs in the jail as well. Again, this is a catch-all that would be for all inmates that are eligible for these types of programs and services. And again, the intent would be treatment, housing, transportation, different needs like that they come in contact with. So it's an expansion of services and really wants to supplement what we can't provide right now and really capture more people within the jail facility. So yes, totally acknowledge there's a lot of programming there, but again, this is our first go at the funds. Members of the group will tell you that is where our largest gaps right now are. You know, I want to make mention, you know, a lot of times, you know, you focus on this, on the negative, and, you know, in talking to individuals on our teams and as well as in the community, we have to be careful, even myself, the system's not broke. There are gaps and there are improvements to be made, and we have a lot of opportunity to be able to do that and be a part of that. And between the funding you have today, you know, we've talked about the jail project a lot, but it's really a lot of great programming and a lot of time and effort that the individuals behind me and others have put into it and using their expertise and really pulling together that safe and healthy Macomb plan. So this is just the start of it, but there's a lot to come. There's a lot we're still planning behind the scenes, talking to people, but hopefully we'll start to see all of that come together here shortly within the next few months and just grow from there. So with that, I will stop talking. And if you have questions, I'm here to answer them, or again, anyone on the team. So thank you.
Vicki, we do have commissioners that have some questions. I just wanted to make a comment. As we all know, that's a lot of money, and to me, it seems like it's being spent wisely. But let's have some commissioners speak, and we'll have you there, and Ms. Caskey if they have other questions. Mr. Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vicki, I thought I'd read or heard yesterday or the day before that there was a settlement with Walgreens as well. Would that be in addition to this? Will we be receiving more funding from that settlement?
Yes, we have continuous funding coming in, and we sometimes don't know till we actually get the check. I think if you look at the form that's actually presented in your packet, technically we have a total of 5.3 million within the bank right now. But again, we can't spend that money because some of that was prepaid to us. So we have to be conscious of what year the money was earmarked for. So yes, there's other funding that we're waiting to come in and settlements that are still being discussed.
Okay, and as we talked about last month, I guess I'm all on board with this program. My big fear is the inconsistency of how the funds come into us. And in terms of staffing and programming, I don't want us to get enough funds to set up a program one year, and then the next year those funds don't come and we have to end that program, which only hurts those folks that we're trying to help. Are we building in some sort of contingency plan? Is there a way to do that, whether it be with opioid funds or with some funding from GF or mental health? Or is there like a backup plan in case one year, 500,000 doesn't come in and we had that set aside for a certain program?
Right, and I guess that's kind of one of the nice things about some of the prepaid money that we have, at least it's cash in hand. But I will say, yes, we're conscious of that, and we'll have to monitor it and make sure our programs don't, get so large. But I also don't see us necessarily internally, with all the programs, you have to be careful, but we're very conscious of employees and then not having funding and then having to let those people go. But all of our programming is not intended to hire employees. As discussed today, there's a number of consultants we'll be issuing, we envision issuing requests for proposals or bids, if you will, for services from community members. So yes, that will be part of the administration process, but yes, we're conscious of that, but then also using other funding sources that come in where we can match up and supplement.
And also, I guess what I like about this too is it's ever evolving. I mean, this is a lengthy settlement that we're getting funds for many, many years for. And, we start with some projects and programs, maybe they don't work and we shift gears to something else. We talk to our partners in the community, they see a need here, so we shift some funds there. I mean, that's the beauty of this thing. And on top of that, we approve this week, we can make an impact come Monday. I mean, that may be a little dramatic, but for the central intake, I mean, that's years and years out. This is something that can impact the community Monday morning, maybe even Friday morning if you're feeling ambitious. But I'm fully supportive of whatever, help you need from me. I know you've worked with, CMH and grateful for that. So anything you need from me, I'm fully on board. And thank you for all your hard work, Vicki, with this and the entire team. Barb, you too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Thanks. And
Commissioner.
sorry, if I could just add too, and that's part of connecting with the communities, as I've said. Yes, it's great that they have gotten their funding and that, but they also don't have the same responsibilities that we do at a county level. So we're hopeful, as has worked in the past, that many of them may take their funding and put it towards the same projects. So in looking for other sources, why should you have to potentially hire someone or get a consultant on your own when you could partner with us, provide a portion of your money to us, and then we can provide that countywide and kind of get more bang for our buck as well. So, thanks.
Okay, we have a list of commissioners here. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chair. Vicki, I can't thank you enough for your clarification on the personnel issue, because the first time I read that, I went, what? We're hiring 8 people to do things that are functioning. The other thing in this detailed explanation, this time, I know you were cut off last time.
Yes.
That we received is the fact that Dave and his team, our chairman of community mental health and Antoinette are both going north and south with this. And I just heard Phil say that he completely endorses it. The other attribute that I thought was impressive is the community outreach. There was a lot of terms used in the last couple of days about being proactive. I think that's what this initiative is in its entirety, and the fact that there's supposedly maybe going to be funding available for a long period of time. It looks to me now like it's being totally utilized properly, and the initiative that you guys have put forth with the community outreach, I think is extremely impressive. When you talked about education, is that education going to be made available to the local municipalities? Because I asked our city manager today, what are we doing with our opiate funding? He said, I don't know yet. And I said, okay, then I'm going to find out if I can get somebody inclusive in these conversations, and you're telling me yes.
Yes, that is our goal with any of the programs, but yes, most certainly with the education, because that's an easy one to accomplish. Hey, county will host it, we arrange it, we pick the site, everybody signs up. We're used to doing that. That's an easy win for us, and it will really be this is the vendor, this is the program that we agreed everyone, you know, would take and support. And so to me, that's an easy win. And then they just have to help pay the bill with us. So yeah, I think we can easily manage that based on experience, and it makes the most sense because, again, it's.
Absolutely does. We don't want them doing anything that's replicating what you're doing, or certainly not anything that would be considered incorrect. So,
Right, and I think it helps match up, again, with the, you know, my experience with public safety, they cross jurisdictional lines all the time. So the more that they can have the same type of training and know that they've been in the same course with one another and they're on the scene responding to different types of incidents, or they're bringing someone to the jail. I know they already have programs and protocols, but they know what to expect. I know, you know, even in many instances, as our programs build out within the jail, within the community, they will all become more aware of what is available, what are those services, where can I take someone as we expand out. And I know there's, you know, a lot of good questions and comments coming from public safety of what we're doing. And again, they know there are some short-term fixes that we have, but then there are some long-term that many of them are looking forward to as well, and we're just not there yet. But with them and the engagement center and the crisis stabilization unit, a residential center, you know, they don't like bringing people to the sheriff's office if they don't have to, and they don't have to be there either. The hospitals, you know, don't have the capacity to handle them. So if we can have some of these projects come to fruition too in the coming years, it's great for everyone. It's, you know, more great for the people that really need those programs and services, and that they're getting the help that they need in the right location.
what I appreciate is an opportunity for us to be proactive with the municipalities that we're not paying for the sheriff's services for, to say, here's a service for you that you don't have to take out of your opiate settlement money to help pay for. So I agree with Commissioner Kraft. You guys thought this out well, and I'm so glad we had this explanation versus what transpired last time. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Vicki.
Hello.
Just to kind of follow what Commissioner Hall was saying, that was really my line of questioning too, so spot on.
Great minds think alike.
They sure do. So partnering with the locals, I know you have a meeting with them next month, you said. Have any of the locals provided to you, us in general, what their plan is?
No, the most I can, one, we haven't asked, you know, from our perspective, and obviously they can spend their money on whatever they'd like. The best I can tell you is the monthly macro meeting that I know Chair Brown sits on as well. There are updates that come through that group, and I think the majority are, like you talked about, Roseville, where they're just starting to speak about it, and they're not quite sure. I know some have you know, taken some steps using opioid funds and some of their own funding for different resources, but it's really minimal right now. So I think that meeting that we have with them on July 10th will be key. I know Barb, when you look at the locals, has met with the district courts as part of that, and there are some funding ideas that they have, but I don't think any of those are really solidified either within their local communities on how they're spending those funds. So right now it's really limited, unless you have something to add, Barb.
No, just that we met with the district courts, judges in all of the areas, and I think that that was several months ago. But I think that there's, not only are they not really familiar with what they're doing with it, but I don't know that there's a real connect between who's receiving it and making those decisions and the courts or the different areas. So I think hopefully those conversations are taking place now.
Okay.
Do we know what the total amount that the locals will be receiving? Or this year's number?
There's information in certain places about some of the settlements that you can find, but the more settlements that come through, it's muddy for us to even figure out what's coming here, let alone those other areas. So to get a complete picture of that, no, I don't think you can.
Well, I hope, you know, with all of us here sitting and talking about this, that we can reach out to our local municipalities and talk to them about the importance of them partnering with us on this. I think, working collectively, it's a stronger solution than them trying to do this individually, and some of them don't even know where to start. So I think with Commissioner Hossain and Commissioner Kraft in relation to these items, I mean, we need to partner up on this to try and solve the problem. Obviously, we can't solve the problem 100%, but collectively we can do a better job than each municipality trying to combat it themselves. I know yesterday we talked about some of the locals in regards to the jail and housing inmates and bringing them to the jail. If we don't have the space, we would be sending them back, and in regards to the intake. So is this something collectively that's going to be discussed next month in regards to the opioid fund settlements, or is that a separate topic altogether with the locals?
No, it's part of it, and in the Safe and Healthy Macomb plan, it's one of the items that's listed in there. Obviously, it's not the focus of this funding, which is more program related. But no, it's been discussed. It's part of the overall plan. That's now that we have the plan done, that'll be what we start to present. I think the sheriff mentioned it yesterday about being at the police chief's meeting. I happen to attend those as well. He's spoken about the intake project. I've spoken about it. We've spoken about the opioid funds, at least in that setting, and again on the macro calls. So I think the topic is well known. Probably right now, central intake more than our Safe and Healthy Macomb plan, but that'll start to come out really next month, and we'll be able to send that out to them. It's actually out on the website right now if you haven't seen that. So yeah, I think we'll be getting more word out there and the details.
Great.
And
Thank
how
you.
it all intertwines.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Chair Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. The public meetings that you're going to be having, and we've got one scheduled. If there'll be others. There was another meeting too. You mentioned 2 meetings.
Sure. July 10th is for the jurisdictions.
Can our commissioners be notified? Can you notify me? And
Sure.
I'll notify our board. That's to give the commissioners an opportunity to participate or be aware of if they can attend.
Sure.
I'll certainly attend, but we want to make sure that they're all aware of it. The budget is going to change as this program. This is the first time we've got the money in, and I'm really glad of this day because I remember many years ago when the old Board of Commissioners debated, and there was some debate about whether we're going to spend money getting involved in a lawsuit to sue the drug manufacturers. And we agreed to do that at the time. I'm not sure what the outcome was going to be. And look at where we are here today. We're now divvying up the spoils of a suit that holds them accountable for all the damage and the death that they've caused individuals and damage they've done to families. So this is a very good day and a good time to be involved in moving forward to try to heal some of the wounds. Now, wounds will never be healed, but we can certainly, go forward to make prevention is a key word. And it goes to the seed money. The good thing about this long stream of money that's coming in is for us to be able to seed ideas we haven't even thought of yet. Things that you're going to hear in the community about getting out ahead of the problems, instead of getting the police cars, as well as supporting law enforcement and in the jail and, maybe out on the scenes perhaps. So those are all good ideas that could be funded. What I'm thinking though is we're setting up a budget for this year's allocation of $2 million or whatever, 2 million plus it is. We're going to fill all those items based on this amount of allocation, which is going to be roughly what we're going to receive next year. We might not have the flexibility in our budget to adjust other things that we think are priorities or needed, like perhaps funding things at the jail. I mean, we're gonna have people doing opioid work and related expenditures that are allowed under the grant that are done in the jail. I want to make sure we got room to adjust to the funding of those levels. And I'd also like to talk to the local communities about kicking in their fair share of the amount to fund the projects going on in the jail where some of their residents are living. You know what I'm saying? To help out a joint response to our community jail that we all provide services for at no charge the pre-booking and all the rest that the sheriff talked about, maybe having to cut out if things go haywire over there. Well, they should have some skin in the game, and now they've got some money to do that. And that should be a discussion had when we have the community, the meetings. But I'm just putting it out there that there are ways that this money could help fund our budget needs when we open up that diversion and intake center in a serious way. And can any of this money be used for construction? Maybe we need office space to build out office space. You know, there's no space in the jail to do anything over there now. That's the reason we want to build this intake center, to give us some space to do some of these useful programs. Can we use some of this money to offset the expenses of that construction? I don't know. Those are questions I've gotten.
Yeah, that is not covered within the guidance from the opioid funds for physical changes or anything like that.
Okay. All right, but again, just, you heard what I said earlier about the flexibility in the budget going forward. We don't want to program in all this money so tightly that we decide to make changes. We have to cut programs that are good, right? Or have to, so, but it's going to change. It's certainly going to change. We've got a vision now, but what it'll be once practical experience steps in will probably be different. So you're going to bring this budget back to us on an annual basis?
Correct.
And so that's a good thing too. So, it's all good, you know, but just things to think about, I'm thinking about going forward. So, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Vicki, I may have misunderstood you. So did you say that the smaller communities will not be getting help or counseling help?
So the communities under 10,000 are not getting their own opioid funding individually. So communities larger than 10,000 residents have their own opioid funding that was distributed to them, just like the county has money.
Is that because they won't be able to pay anything back? They don't financially reimburse
That
them all?
was a decision that was made as part of the lawsuits and within the state that was their threshold for funding.
So there's no, so there's no help for those people
Well,
or
I'm not-
children or teenagers
there's-
or whatever?
Oh, there's certainly help. I mean, we provide them help now, and we will continue to. The issue is they don't have their own dedicated stream of funding. So, you know, if you live in a community such as New Baltimore, Romeo, Richmond, they do not have their own stream of funding. So, you know, I had a conversation with John Moore out in Richmond one day, was starting to talk to him about the plans, and that's actually how I kind of found out. And, you know, we're going to be meeting with you, see maybe how you're using the funds. And John's like, we don't have any funds. He said, so we're very interested to see. So if you look at specifically, I'll go back to the training program, they don't have funds to train their officers in that critical incident training. I'm not saying they haven't done it and used their own money to train their officers, but they don't have any. So I can see that a gap where we may cover some of those costs for them, because it's important community-wide, county-wide, that they have that training. But services right now, just like we do every day in all our programs, everyone in the county benefits from programs. So no, they won't be left out. If there's a need and it's a county service or another service provider, they will be taken care of. It's just that municipality individually does not have their own funding stream.
Yeah, I hope that they would be trained and have what they need. They have less people, but it doesn't mean they don't have the same problem. It's maybe less, I hope it's less people. I mean, obviously it would be less. And so also the districts, are they more in the north because they're smaller? Is that where the situation is?
Yeah, I mean, generally, when you look at the population in the county, yeah, I mean, the majority are smaller jurisdictions
Right.
within the north end.
I assume so. I just wanted to make sure. It wasn't Harrison Township.
No.
I just wanted to make sure that, okay. And I think when you said that you're irreplaceable, I think you are not irreplaceable. I think you are not replaceable. Thank you very much for all your work. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Vicki.
Hello.
So just a couple of issues. The county's settlement amount, That's based on the county population or the county population that's not covered by jurisdictions that receive their own?
No, they have a formula within the lawsuits, and each one of them is not exactly the same. But one of the criteria is actually based on data for overdose deaths that they take into account. And I think population is a factor within that criteria as well. So there's a number of different.
So like the overdose deaths, would that be the overdose deaths in areas of Macomb County that are not covered by jurisdictions that are receiving their own?
So I know our number is congregate as a county for all jurisdictions.
So it
within
includes the
county.
Sterling Heights and the Warren and those kinds of things?
Correct.
Okay. About your meeting on July 10th, very good. I assume you're asking for RSVPs?
Yes, we will be. Yes, and we're trying to figure that out, how we do that. We obviously want the leadership from each of the jurisdictions, but it'll also be police, fire, the district courts, and anyone else the jurisdiction
Well, where I
wants
was
to
going with
assign.
that
and
is
the board.
if you weren't getting responses out of certain jurisdictions, please reach out to the commissioner who covers that jurisdiction so we can go help prod those people to get them to come and attend and participate.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Perna?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zenner asked some of the questions. On the smaller communities that do not, have not, or will not receive any funds, they're going to be invited for training programs, et cetera, et cetera. Are they going to have any obligation to us for whatever programs we offer to those municipalities?
We haven't gotten that far. I mean, top of my head at this point, no. I mean, we may not cover their overtime and backfill. We may cover, the cost for the training and that, but I think the bigger issue is the issue itself and the opioid issue and the crisis that we're in. So I think normally, while we're conscious of that, I think it also part of it is a responsibility if we have the funding as the county, and we can work that into our plans that we cover some of those costs because it's for the greater good of all of us within the county that they participate in those programs. And again, there are people that live in their communities are coming to us anyways now. They're in the jail. I mean, as we said, it's our neighbors, it's our friends, it's our family members that are within, the jail system, community mental health, and other service providers. So, the more we can share where we need to, I think is appropriate to us. But we're conscious of that as well.
So we're going to work on those as much as we can without any additional liability because they can't afford.
Correct.
The second question is those municipalities that have received funds, that take an opportunity of taking advantage of the programs that we're going to offer them, they're going to reimburse us for some of that cost?
Yes, that would be the goal, depending on what it is and where we can partner with them. There may be some that don't. I know, I think Clinton, I said it before, I think Clinton Township and Sterling Heights have hired social workers within their entities. I'm not positive they've used their opioid funding for that. But, they could choose to do that and say that's a good use of their resources, and that's great. But then we'll look at other ways to partner with them too, with the programs that they have put in place. Are there different ones where we can share or we can learn? We talk about the mobile crisis unit. We talk about other resources within the community. So, we're going to look for all different ways where we can, improve and fix our gaps and weaknesses in the county.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say I think this is a great use of the funds. The way that you all have worked together to come up with this plan is exceptional. I liked everything about it. I love the idea of having just a wraparound, leaving no one behind, whether they're getting out of jail, we can still help. And I think, public comments, we heard how important that is. And just working as a county and communities working together, whether they receive the funds or did receive the funds and not know what to do with it or didn't receive any funds at all, to be able to come together and say, here's some ideas, this is what we're doing, how can we help? You know, and I think that's important and definitely leading by example. So thank you for the extended presentation, going into more detail that we hadn't heard already and answering our questions, because this is the funds are important and the use is equally important. So thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Sickle, second time around.
Thank you, Chair. Vicki, I forgot one question. Are we reaching out to the veterans community?
Yes, from the perspective of, yes, with Laura Rios and that, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they weren't forgotten.
No.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quick, I hate to correct you publicly, Vicky, but New Baltimore is getting funds because they actually were proactive and reached out to Dave and I about how to use those funds. I think you're thinking New Haven. They are under 10.
Oh, they are, okay, I wasn't sure where New
But
Baltimore
I had to give New
was.
Baltimore a pat on the
Thank you.
back because
No.
they were proactive in actually reaching out to us.
No,
so.
great.
Thank you. But yeah, I have so many new communities in my district. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see no other commissioners, so please vote. We have a motion and support.
I think that's Phil's district.
Commissioner knows. He's well loved up today.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Let's go to item E, which is a budget amendment. Sheriff's Office Dispatch Mission Critical Partners Contract for $200,000. We have Ms. Elsie here, who's the dispatch director, is going to tell us how we're spending that money.
Yes,
Motion
good
to
afternoon.
refer Full board.
Motion to
Support,
refer to full
Lucido.
board and a
Support
support.
Center.
And a support from Zinner. Please, Elsie, go ahead.
Good afternoon. The proposed budget amendment is to correct an oversight, failing to carry over money that was budgeted in the fiscal year of 2022 into 2023 to continue to pay for the contract for Mission Critical Partners. So this contract was approved by the board in December of 2021, which aims to assist us in the development and implementation of a next generation 911 emergency services network. We've been in contract with them since December 16th of 2021 with a maximum cost cap set at $554,017. The $554,017 was in the 2022 fiscal year budget for the E911 fund with an agreement for cost sharing between E911 and general fund. However, like I said, the balance of that contract was not carried over into the fiscal year 2023. So that was an oversight. The money was already allocated and budgeted for. It was just failed to be carried over. The two funding sources, both the general fund and the E911 fund, their contribution is based on the percent of the total state 911 revenue that we receive annually. And it's then divided into how much the county receives of that money, the county meaning the Sheriff's Office PSAP, which is about 49%. And the general fund contribution is just over 51%. And that represents the percent of that state 911 money that is distributed to the other 8 PSAPs within Macomb County. So using that fund contribution model, the proposed budget amendment would need to increase the general fund operating transfers out and utilization of fund balance by $102,160 each. Also increasing the Sheriff E911 and Dispatch Services Fund operating transfers in revenue by $102,160. Utilization of fund balance revenue by $97,840, with a corresponding increase to contract services expenditures by $200,000. So in total, the county's been invoiced so far for the length of time we've been in the contract for $219,842. The $200,000 is not the entire balance of the $554. It is our expected total cost for 2023 for that contract. So, take any questions if you have any.
Must have made a good presentation. I see no speakers. We have a motion and support. Please vote.
So that's the criteria.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item F is a resolution for 2023, item 10596, amendment to the Macomb County 911 Service Plan to adopt a change in PSAP designation. Our dispatch director again, Ms. Elsey.
So for this item, I'm requesting.
Here, I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry.
For the full board.
Support.
Yes.
Motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Nart. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Elsey. Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
For this item, I'm requesting an approval for an amendment to the 911 service plan by resolution to temporarily change the designation of the Macomb County Sheriff's Office to be the primary PSAP, or Public Safety Answering Point, for the village's Romeo, as being the first point of reception for a 911 call. So in addition to temporarily change the designation of the Romeo Police Department to a secondary PSAP in Macomb County, excuse me, meaning that they are currently only receiving calls via the transfer or relay method. This is due to some recent equipment failure and necessary upgrades. Romeo Police Department's 911 calls have been rerouted to the Sheriff's Office since early March. Chief Solkanicki from Romeo Police Department was kind enough to join as well, so he is here if there are specific questions for the village. The law does require, Public Act 32, 911 law, it does require that in order to be a primary PSAP, that center must answer 911 calls 24/7, and it does not allow for any exceptions in that. The definition of a primary PSAP in the law is very specific, and part of it does state that that communication center is the first point of reception for that 911 call. So currently, Macomb County Sheriff's Office is the first point of reception for the Village of Romeo's 911 calls. And so Romeo does not currently meet the definition of a primary PSAP. However, they do meet the definition operating as a secondary PSAP, which means that they're receiving 911 information for the residents in their village or people traveling through via the transfer, meaning the Sheriff's Office dispatchers are transferring that information directly to Romeo's, or relaying that information by calling their dispatch center and saying, this is the information we just received. Primary PSAP status is tied to funding as well, both the local and state surcharge monies that we receive. So in the law, in order for us to continue to be able to collect both funding sources, the primary PSAPs must be identified in the service plan, which falls under the purview of the Board of Commissioners. If the plan is not updated to reflect the temporary change, then we're not complying with 911 law, potentially compromising our funding. So the law is written that both the state and local surcharge can only be collected by counties with a current plan in place. And those funds can only be distributed to primary PSAPs. In Section 302 of Public Act 32, the county board may by resolution make an amendment to the 911 service plan for any changes involving the participating public safety agencies within a service district, and changes involving the addition or deletion of primary and secondary PSAPs within that 911 service district. So the board can make this amendment without formally opening the plan, just by passing of resolution. Again, this is temporary. Romeo does have a plan in place. I don't want to speak to their operations and their plan, it's not my department, but they do have a plan in place. And once they are, the issue is resolved and they are back up and running in a primary status, then we will bring in front of you again a resolution to designate them as a primary PSAP.
Well, moving right along, I see no speakers again, so please vote.
Excuse me.
Not on here.
Yes, I am.
Take a look.
He's gonna fix you.
We already had this conversation.
Van Sickle and Brown.
Is he on there?
Van Sickle and Brown.
I'm sorry, Don. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. You answered my one question, so you will be back for us to transfer back to Romeo. The other question I had was, do you have any idea how long the temporary situation will exist?
I will ask the chief to join me.
What is this question?
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Stoklinky. I'm the Chief of Police for the Village of Romeo. We are scheduled for a delivery of our new equipment at the end of this month, June 30th. Everything takes a lot longer nowadays. The install date has not been determined yet, but I believe that we have been pushed to the top of the list because of our situation, and it'll be very soon.
Okay, so it isn't something's broken and you're repairing it, you're like installing a new system?
It's broken beyond repair.
Okay,
So it's got to be a whole new replacement system, and that will be delivered at the end of the month.
so we're talking a month or two then, probably?
Probably, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Chair Brown?
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for coming up. Appreciate that. Are we assessing them any money for the time that we're doing the services?
So I can speak to that. So this issue began mid-March. So Q1, which was January through March 30th, they were operating as a primary PSAP. So when we distribute those monies with finance in July, when we get together to go over that fund distribution, Romeo will receive all of the money that they are entitled to from Q1. The law does have a provision within it to state that even though Romeo cannot collect 911 funds from the state or local surcharge directly because they're not operating as a primary PSAP, the primary PSAP for that service district, so meaning us for the Village of Romeo for the period of time, can then distribute that money to a secondary within that district if it is effective for 911 service. So we do intend, and that is part of the intergovernmental agreement, the next item, where we identify the fund distribution. Romeo will receive their money for all of Q2 that we're currently in, that ends June 30th. If anything carries over into Q3, they will receive that as well. However, they cannot receive it in the traditional way directly from finance after the distribution. That would be a violation of the law. It would have to go to the sheriff's office. We would have to then issue that or distribute that money directly to the village. But we have decided that we are going to hold that money until they are operational again, and then we will release it.
It's good to be part of a team, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, they've done a wonderful job and had our back from the moment we went down, and it's greatly appreciated.
How much is the village going to pay for the new equipment?
It's costing almost $200,000.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. Did you say the county has to write a resolution, or is that passed already?
No, the resolution is part of your agenda packet for the Board of Commissioners to approve today.
Okay.
The board chair, as well as the county clerk, would have to then sign that resolution.
All right. Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think that is
I see the time period. That's what I
it
heard it was.
for speakers. So we vote now? Please vote. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I read that. I forgot.
Much more pleasant than Joe.
Okay, moving on to, go
Motion
ahead.
passes 12-0.
I knew it was going to pass. So now we can move on to item G. Are we on G? Is that correct? I knew he crossed it off. Okay, so G, intergovernmental agreement, Village of Romeo, rollover of 911 service.
I'll move that, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Do we get a
Support Van Sickle.
all the supports? Thank you.
So in addition to the resolution needed to amend the county 911 plan, the intergovernmental agreement between the county and the Village of Romeo for the rollover of 911 service from Romeo PD to Comtech has a provision regarding the fund distribution. So like I just briefly explained, during the period in which Romeo is not operating as a primary PSAP, by statute, the village shall not receive any state or local surcharge funds designated for primary PSAPs. So the county will temporarily hold that money that would have otherwise been allocated to the village. and through Romeo Police Department, and we will officially designate that money to them once they are designated as a primary PSAP again. So also, as stated, the law allows for the primary PSAP, the Sheriff's Office, to distribute funds to the secondary within the 911 service district if we determine that to be effective. So that is all outlined within that intergovernmental agreement, the provision for fund distribution. Also knowing that this is a temporary designation with a plan in place that the chief just explained, we fully intend to distribute Romeo their money. Had it been a different scenario, we wouldn't have to, but we certainly want to work with our partner PSAPs, and things happen. 911s go down, networks aren't, it's still technology, so we have to be able to support each other and back one another up, but we do have to have some provisions to protect each agency as well. So therefore, with both items together, for us to remain compliant with the law, continue to receive and distribute our funds in accordance with the law, the intergovernmental agreement is also a necessary component to this rollover of service.
Okay, no speakers. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to 7, correspondence. Can I get a motion to receive and file 7A and 7B?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Vote.
Discussion.
Oh, any discussion before we vote? None. Okay, please vote. Next is public participation. This is a second opportunity for public participation for anyone that wishes to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any issue.
Chair, did we vote to receive and file?
Yes.
Yes.
The chairs here.
Oh, did I move too fast on that one? Did we announce the? Sorry.
Motion passed 12-0.
Thank you. All right, again, public participation, second call. No one? Okay, we can move on to commissioners' comments. I don't see anyone on that either.
Sure, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Yay. Okay, please vote.
Good job.
Motion passes 12-0.
Waited on that one.
well done.
Thank you, guys.